Okay, so I wanted to give my kind of first opinions on what I think about the potential of Spear Wand when it gets released next week. So to do this, I wanted to look at the skills that we already know about, some of the data mined information that we've got, and look at how it would kind of fit in with the whole sleep bombing style. Ultimately, I enjoy this style of play. I love the idea of setting up huge CC bombs and then the team following up on that. Now, there are certain elements of Spear that really fit in with this, and also I feel that there are certain parts of the new weapon that are going to actually enhance our ability to pull this off without us losing what it may first appear that we lose. So, to start with, we're looking at the current kind of meta sleep bombing build. This is the build that a lot of people are running. This is the build that myself and the people in the guild are running, with the exception of some skills that are often changed. So, for example, Stigma is often changed for Smoke Bomb. Some people will put additional heals in here, but ultimately, the fundamentals of the build are always going to be Touch of Despair, Karmic Haze, our Sleep, our Curse Explosion, and then whichever version of Magic Circle we choose to run. So, providing that those are the main skills that we're always going to run in the build, I feel that we've got the potential to cut some skills from this and potentially replace them with skills from Spear. So, the things that we'll be looking at replacing are obviously the dodge roll. Then you've also got Fatal Stigma that would be dropping because we wouldn't have Dagger. We'd also lose access to Stealth and we'd lose access to Shadow Strike. I do also think that because of the defensive capabilities of Spear, we could potentially look to go all in and drop Enchanting Time, drop Heal, drop Bless Barrier, and even drop Invincible Wall if the skills available warrant doing so. So there is potential here where we only actually need to run Touch, Karmic, Sleep, Curse Explosion, and Magic Circle. But obviously, a lot's going to change, or whether this is even going to be viable, we won't really know until Spear is launched. One thing we do know though is that this is NCSoft's first weapon, so it's going to be massively overtuned, and we're expecting that the weapon is going to be incredibly strong. So let's take a quick look at what we already know about the weapon and why I think it's going to synergize really well with Wand. So if we look at the deep dive from Amazon in terms of the active skills that they've shown us or that they've given us a little bit of information on, it's not really a deep dive at all. And there's not a lot here that would lead you to think this will synergize really well with Wand. However, we do have access to more information that I'll get on into a moment. But ultimately, the one thing that is consistent throughout is the fact that this this weapon plays around weaken effects, and that's something that one brings to the table through its curses. Weaken effects that we apply, as we know from dealing with the bow shield, it's what we do all the time. So we're already able to enhance the spear from a range perspective, and it's another thing that I think will work really well when you factor in Tevant Wand and the fact that whenever we apply any type of curse, we can obviously get additional weakens up on the target. So just looking at Cutting Wings, for example, each attack inflicts weaken and will deal additional damage on targets with 5 weaken stacks. This is something that we can get up to very quickly without actually needing to be in melee range on people. So it is interesting that it's a very weaken heavy kind of playstyle. But let's have a look at the passives as well, or at least what Amazon's given us so far. So this again leans really heavily on the weaken side of things. So essentially anytime you apply a weaken to a target, you're going to temporarily increase your attack speed. You've also got here that you deal additional damage to enemies that have low health when landing critical hits. This is something we've always struggled with in terms of one dagger since they nerfed the 100% dot damage on sleep. Finishing targets is always something that we're going to struggle with at the moment, and that is going to be an issue in tier 2 as well. But then Battlefield Dash as well, if you inflict the target with weaken and they die within 10 seconds, your attack speed may temporarily increase. And then also when taking skill damage, your magic, melee and ranged heavy attack chance may temporarily increase. There's a lot of may that are in these things, so again, until we actually see what is happening with this weapon, we're not going to know for sure. But some of these passives are quite interesting in terms of what we can do for follow-up damage after setting up a sleep bomb on groups of people. But let me show you what we know from the translated Korean skills and from some of the data mined information that we've got as well, because this will really tie in why I think that Wand and Spear is actually going to be a viable sleep bomb combo. Okay, so first of all, sorry about the resolution on these pictures. It is terrible. I can appreciate that. It's been translated from Korean patch as well, or from videos that we've seen. But this would essentially be our new engage tool. After casting for a certain amount of time, you fly towards a designated target and fall, dealing damage to 7 enemies within a 5-meter range and inflicting them with fear for 4 seconds. Now, it also inflicts a weaken that reduces their movement speed, so it stops them from running a million miles away from you. This would be a very good engage tool for us and allow us to set up a sleep bomb from there. So we would literally jump in, hit the floor, and then we would immediately land the sleep into Karmic on people and look to spread that as soon as we can. However, there are other options and synergies with some of the other skills I'm going to show you in a second. What's really interesting about this, though, is that the skill can't be cancelled once you're in the air and until just before falling. You also can't be targeted and become immune to all status effects. So once you get in the air, this is a guaranteed engage. You are going to land at that target, which makes it really good for high ground engages or coming from different angles like we already do in terms of using stealth to get in there and get those sleeps off, which makes it seem to me like it could be a very good engage tool, but it doesn't really stop here. On the synergy only gets a bit deeper in terms of how this is going to work with Wand for us. So next up is an interesting AoE attack. It's a 5-meter radius. Now you can pretty much ignore the first part where it's going to cause a metal rupture effect to the enemies within 5-meter radius, causing them a knockback. That's not what we're interested in. The knockback isn't necessarily going to work for us because we want people as clumped up as we can. What's interesting though is if you look at the bottom, when Gust Slash hits a target with a stun, sleep or fear effect, it has an 80% chance to inflict them with collision stun effect for 2.8 seconds. Now the collision stun is going to be huge for us. It's going to allow us to follow up on our own sleeps with more CC. So again, this plays into the whole idea of you're going to be able to jump in and fear people into either a sleep bomb or a stun, because they should be feared anyway. Depending on the amount of people around you, it gives you potential for that follow-up CC that you're going to need to then finish off the damage. Again, this is all very hypothetical. I might be grasping at straws on this, but it does really look like it's going to synergize quite well with what we're able to do, and at the very least it gives us another follow-up from other people in our group running Spear if we still play Wand Dagger as well, and it gets the same kind of benefit there from a sleep bomb into a big stun as well. So this next skill has 2 elements to it that I think are going to work really well with us, bearing in mind that we're going to be setting up and spreading those curses to everybody, so weaken effects. And it's the Rush of Wind. Oh, well, at least that's what it's called for the translation. So it has 2 elements to it. Essentially, whenever you charge to a target that is stunned, sleeping, shocked, feared, or has a weaken applied to them, and that's the big point, has a weaken applied to them, it can be used up to 2 additional times within 3 seconds. And each one of those charges increases your attack speed. Now, this is going to allow us to kind of zip around within that group of people that we've just hit. But the interesting thing from this is that when you use it on a party member, you'll move to the party member. So it could allow us to get back out to healers. But what it can also allow us to do is move to our tanks or move to our crossbows, for example. And that effect is going to allow us to then perform an AoE stun as well. This is fantastic for following up on a sleep engage with crossbows or greatswords and literally stunning for them as well. I think this is a really interesting skill, and the fact that it's going to work off anything that has a weaken applied as well is going to be great in terms of what we can do for mobility and how we can assist the group or assist our parties in continuing the CC chain even deeper than just the sleep that we apply initially. Okay, so those are my initial thoughts and feelings. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not under the impression that Wand Spear will be the absolute best possible combination for this weapon. But ultimately, Wand Dagger also isn't the best combination with Dagger, and it's not the best combination with Wand. It fills a niche within PvP, and it's something that top guilds have used very well within the competitive scene. So, Do I feel that this has the potential to fit that same or similar niche in terms of setting up sleeping gauges and bombing? Yeah, I really do think it does. Now, we'll know more as we get more information. I'll keep updating people as soon as we get access to that and I start looking into what potential builds there could be. Obviously, this is something that I'm interested in looking at, but first and foremost, One Dagger is something that I enjoy the most and will continue to play even into Tier 2, even once Spear is released. But let me know your thoughts, what your feelings are about this. If you think it's going to be something that's viable, are you going to give it a try? Is it something that you're looking at? Um, I'll, like I said, I'll keep you updated. I'll keep the Discord updated as well. But I'm really interested to see what discussions we have around one spear's viability, and more so to see what it feels like next week once we get access to this and I'm able to play it and see how it feels in game. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.